Hello, I'm attorney Pace Rawlins, el abogado a tu alcance. And I thought, since I have had so many phone calls today after the elections, President Trump won. Obviously, many are very concerned on how that's going to affect immigration for the next 4+ years. Those who have cases or who want cases or have family members. I'm going to try to do this also in Spanish as well. So I might be doing a little Spanglish, poquito de español durante eso, también hablo español. Entonces, si quieren esperar hasta el final, voy a compartir mucha esa información al final también. So we'll start with it in English. I'm going to hit just a few points, summaries on these things. There's still a lot coming out. We're going to talk about Trump. We're going to talk about Parole-in-Place for family unity, which is happening this week. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals heard that. We're waiting for more information on that. And then also those who are here in Arizona, we're going to talk about Proposition 314, which passed. And that's concerning a lot of individuals. We've got some calls about that today as well. So for those who are following me, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, thank you. Please subscribe. I'm going to try to do more live events, especially as we have President Trump. You know, laws change frequently. And one thing I know about I'll say here, one thing good of immigration is we've already experienced President Trump for 4 years. So I've been practicing immigration since DACA started back in 2012. And I've been through many presidents, including all 4 years with President Trump. And so, we have that experience to know what he's capable of. Whether he's going to do some of the same things or not, we don't know. It's still too early, but I might touch a few of those. So let's talk a little bit about President Trump. We know that he'll be sworn in again in January. I believe it's January 20th, 2025. Another 4 years of Trump. How is that going to affect? Well, everybody knows President Trump wanted to create a wall, right? And when we're talking about physical wall, border security, which I'm all for border security, but it's other walls, those invisible walls that he creates in immigration, which concern me. And those can create backlogs. And we saw a lot of backlogs on immigration cases, adjustment of status cases, petitions, waiver cases during the Trump administration. One example that was very hot was public charge, la carga pública. He wanted to insert into the adjustment of status application a 20-page document for those individuals applying for a green card to show that they would not become a public charge. And he took away the weight from a or the sponsor or joint sponsor and put a little more weight on proving it yourself based on your job, your credit score, with your education, and so many other things. And it was just horrible. Fortunately, the court shut it down, and then we had President Biden. We do have a one-page, really soft, not as enforced public charge in the current version of the I-45 adjustment of status, but more weight is given to the petitioning sponsor, that's a spouse or child or whoever's petitioning, and a joint sponsor. So that one page really does not really given a lot of weight by USCIS officers. Another thing that President Trump did during his administration was he removed from immigration judges a lot of discretion, particularly in administrative closing immigration cases. And this was horrible because courts were backlogged, and this discretion from judges and the ICE attorneys to be able to take off of the dockets, close out cases that are not criminals, that are not these, women and children, and trying to deport them, that just backlog. That's not good for our country. That's not good for finding those who need to be deported. And there's people who do need to be deported who are criminals. And if you have a huge, I guess you call it dragnet, you're not going to be able to capture as many of those who do need to be deported. So we'll see how that plays out in the Trump administration. So that's a little bit, a lot of people worried about Trump. Just remember, we have the experience. We know immigration will continue along. People are still going to be able to get their residencies, their visas, their citizenship. Immigration laws are passed. They're created through Congress. President Trump and his administration will still have to faithfully execute those laws and do those things. Obviously, he has discretion on how he does that, and we'll see how that plays out. It's going to be interesting. Look for, if you have attorneys, good time to maybe start talking to them. I'm getting a lot of my clients asking me questions and telling them some of the same things. There's a lot more other information cases that might be more effective than others. This upcoming Saturday November 9th between 10 and 2 p.m. in our Phoenix office, and also by phone and also video, we are giving free consultations. And then the following Saturday, which is November 17th, here in the Mesa office between 10 and 2. And those who, I have a lot of clients that are all over the country and over the world. We can do consultations through phone or video. So that's my little summary on Trump. So much more to come. Now let's talk about Parole-in-Place family unity. We all know that the state of Texas filed a lawsuit with 15 other states, and that was enjoined. Just remember that if you are eligible, you still can apply. You still can submit your applications. Immigration is still fingerprinting and can start reviewing documents. They just cannot make decisions until the court decides, until this things open up. And we don't know. It could be this week, the end of the week. We don't know. We're waiting for a decision. That was yesterday at the Fifth Circuit. There was a trial, a hearing on this, and we're still waiting. The actual enjoyment, the pausa or pause, is supposed to end this Friday, the 8th. Stay tuned. Obviously, if I hear something, I'm going to post on my social media sites. Stay tuned for that. If you don't know if you're eligible for Parole-in-Place, I know a lot of people just kind of brushed it aside and said, hey, it's not going to happen. Don't do that. See if you're eligible for it. Do what you can to be prepared, because let's say that it does open up, and we're hoping it does, and there's a small window. What do I mean by small window? Before President Trump takes office, because if he takes office, then there can be other issues, as we learned from DACA, from those Dreamers, and the advanced parole, travel permission for Dreamers, and so many other things that Trump, in his discretion, either shut down or try to shut down legal things. So, there might be a small window to apply and get that huge benefit of that parole document, which can open the door to be able to adjust your status inside the United States. Otherwise, waiver cases continue on forward, and, prepare for that too as well. So we're going to move along. We talked a little bit about Parole-in-Place, so much more. I want to do this in Spanish too as well. So save some time for those who speak Spanish. Last but not least, here in Arizona, we had the passing of Proposition 314. Just a quick, and I'm going to pull up my little cheat sheet over here, just a little bit about that. Those who live in Texas, and I have lots of clients who live in Texas. I practiced for 4 years in Texas. I'm licensed in Texas. It's a very similar bill to the SB4 that passed in Texas, which is currently most of those provisions are being reviewed by the U.S. Supreme Court. So a lot of the provisions of the Proposition 314 in Arizona will not be put in effect until after the U.S. Supreme Court hears immigration issues on that SB4 Texas law. So, and that has largely to do with immigration, and constitutional law says that the Congress has the power, plenty of power, poder, to create immigration laws and enforce immigration laws, and not the state. So, the state's passing laws that might cross over and fringe over into those federal areas. But states say, hey, we have our right too. So there's a lot of these issues that are going on, and we'll see what happens there. That Proposition 314, just those who didn't know, was to criminalize your legal status, allow police officers to be able to ask for documentation Um, also to make misdemeanor offenses um, for using certain fraudulent documents here in Arizona to get public benefits or employment. So there's already laws in place for that, but they're trying to put more enforcement into it. A lot of this is political, and then also, to allow state judges to enforce immigration law and to order those who have deportation orders or who are here to leave the country, which, that's, in my opinion, I think that's going too far. That's got to be the federal immigration judges, but we'll see what happens. And honestly, I don't know everything about what's going to happen. This law is still passing, so there'll be more information as I learn and read more. So that's Proposition 314 in a nutshell. Just remember, most of those provisions, they're not going to be enforced until the Supreme Court hears SB 4 that was passed in Texas and still tied up in the courts. All right, entonces voy a tocar esto muy rápido en español. Ya tenemos nuevo presidente que empezará el 20 de enero en el año que viene. Trump, ¿cómo va a afectar tu caso pendiente o nuevos casos? Pues todos recuerdan de que una de las cosas de Trump, que él quería construir un muro, ¿verdad?, en la frontera de México. Yo sí estoy de acuerdo de tener seguridad en la frontera, pero no creo que un muro va a poder lograr todo eso. Pero lo que me preocupa más con Trump es los muros invisibles. Le explico. Muros invisibles son normas, leyes de que él ponga en práctica para prolongar casos migratorios. O sea, por ejemplo, en la aplicación de ajuste de estatus por la residencia, es la I-485. Hace años, cuando Trump fue presidente, él quiso implementar otra aplicación de 20 páginas por la carga pública, para la carga pública, digo, de que la persona tendría que presentar más pruebas, más información, si tienen deuda, su crédito, cuánto dinero tiene en el banco, sus propiedades, qué educación y nivel de educación tiene la persona y muchas otras cosas para poder presentar oficial, afectar discreción si la persona va a ser carga pública o no. Estaban quitando más peso, más fuerza a patrocinador, que es el cónyuge o hijo o la persona pidiendo a la persona o copatrocinador. Fortunadamente, los cortes paró eso y antes de que hubo decisión, presidente Biden llegó a ser presidente. Hoy día sí tenemos una página nomás en esta aplicación de justo estatus de que se trata de la carga pública, pero no es muy importante. Lo más importante es tener un patrocinador que gana suficiente al año por copatrocinador y ponga más peso y más fuerza a esto ahorita en el justo estatus. La otra cosa es que Trump, durante los tiempos de su presidencia en esos 4 años, él quitó de jueces en los cortes migratorios discreción prosecutorial. En particular, y hay muchas otras cosas, pero voy a tocar una cosa. En particular, la discreción del juez migratorio de cerrar un caso administrativamente o congelarlo o poner una pausa. Él quería obligar a todos sus cortes de hacer decisiones, deportar o no deportar. Y esto no es algo muy bueno porque todos saben que los cortes están llenísimos y los jueces y los fiscales necesitan tener esto para poder poner prioridad a las personas de que sí quieren echar del país, que sean criminales. Los que no son criminales, de que son buenas personas, de que están en procedimientos, si pueden cerrar los casos administrativamente, los jueces pueden enfocar en los casos de prioridad, los casos que son más importantes, o sea, personas que son un peligro a los Estados Unidos. Entonces, ojalá no vemos cosas así. Una cosa importante de Trump es que durante esos 4 años yo pues practicaba todo ese tiempo como abogado de inmigración. Tenemos experiencia de saber qué puede pasar. No sabemos que vamos a ver las mismas cosas peores. Tal vez veremos sorpresas, cosas buenas con presidente Trump. ¿Quién sabe? Entonces, todavía es nuevo, pero lo bueno es de que conocemos Trump por la experiencia y esto es una herramienta muy importante con abogados, con personas de que quieran seguir adelante con el caso porque sabemos más o menos qué puede pasar. Y muchas veces las consecuencias más negativas de la política de Trump, sus normas, es los tiempos y esos muros invisibles de que él puede creer en casos, puede prolongar los casos y extender los tiempos de procedimiento. Esto es lo que no me gusta. La otra cosa que quiero tocar muy rápido es esta Parole-in-Place para la unidad familiar. El corte ayer de la circuita quinta escuchaba argumentos en favor y contra. Estamos esperando aún decisión de esto. Supuestamente el viernes tendremos más información de que sí o que no. Los que puedan aplicar pueden seguir aplicando. Servicio de Inmigración no pueden hacer decisiones. Ellos pueden revisar y pedir que las personas vayan para sacar huellas, pero no pueden hacer decisiones hasta que hay una disposición final con este corte circuita. Pero es importante, en mi opinión, si se puede, pues debe considerarlo, porque tal vez habrá un periodo de tiempo muy cortito, una ventana para poder aplicar, especialmente si se abre. No tendremos mucho tiempo antes de que Trump tomará la oficina y es posible de que pues, obviamente él puede cerrarlo o tratar de cerrarlo. Entonces eso es importante considerar también. Por los que viven en Arizona o en Texas, voy a hablar de cosas de Texas. Ya pasó también ayer la Proposición 314 de que tienen que ver con inmigración, de leyes de Estado, de esforzar inmigración. Mucho de esta política, mucho de estas leyes no se pueden llevar a cabo por causa de que la ley de SB 4 que pasó en Texas todavía está en los cortes, en la Corte Suprema, y están revisando y van a hacer decisiones de que si hay esto es constitucional por un estado esforzar ciertas leyes migratorias. Entonces, no toda esta ley de Proposición 314 va a llevar a cabo mañana o mañana en los meses siguientes. Entonces, esto en muy pocas palabras son lo que estamos viendo de esta semana. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarme. Thank you for joining me on this live feed. I hope you were able to get a little bit out of this. Any questions, phone numbers down below. Feel free to text, call my office. And again, we're doing free consultations this Saturday and next. Tendremos consultas gratuitas este sábado, que es el 9 de noviembre, entre 10 a las 2, en persona en nuestra oficina Phoenix, por teléfono o videollamada. Y el próximo sábado, que es el 16 de noviembre, entre 10 y 2, aquí en persona en la oficina, en mesa, en videollamada o de teléfono. Thank you so much. Gracias. Soy Pace Rawlins, el abogado a tu alcance.